Welcome, viewers. The strategic and crucial role of the pharma industry in the building and sustaining of the nation has never been more pronounced than what it is today. Hopes of a pandemic hit world are now centered around the miracles this sector can do, and India's pharma sector has demonstrated its stellar performance in the wake of COVID. The expectations are immense, the pressure more intense. How can the pharma sector in India rethink, reconfigure, and reinvent itself in these challenging yet exciting times? What are the positive trends we can bank upon? And what are the hurdles we need to navigate so that the sector can perform to its full potential? To discuss this and more, I have with me my colleague, Mr. Sujay Shetty. So, Sujay, welcome to the show. To start with, Sujay, why is the Indian pharma industry so important for the world?
Pharma is incredibly important to the world. We are known as the pharmacy of the world for a number of reasons. You've got our importance to the US market, where we are a quarter of the US market in terms of volume there. We are a quarter of the generic market globally. So very important to healthcare discussions, both in rich and poor countries. Given the impact of pandemic and the focus on vaccines, we are one of the world's largest producer of vaccines. Every child inoculated somewhere carries an Indian vaccine. So for many of those reasons, including the fact that we've got about 800 US FDA plants, give or take a few in India, makes us incredibly important to healthcare debate all around the world.
What are the views the pharma and health CEOs around the industry? What is the potential that we are looking at, and how can they go about it?
Thank you, Arnab. I think a few things. The industry is at the center of the pandemic. It's at the epicenter. So the pharma CEOs think about a few things now, and those are first and foremost digital adoption. And by that I mean, if you look at pharma, because of the social distancing and etc., there's a lot of emphasis on increased use of automation for manufacturing. When you look at pharma marketing representatives interfacing with doctors, there's an increased use of teleconsult and telemedicine type devices, remote or virtual type tools to facilitate that. On the healthcare side, similarly, health services will look at more virtual patient experience to interface between doctors and the patients. All of us have used video consult in this period. So a lot of thinking around digital plus digital disruption. There's a lot of health tech companies coming in from the point of view of diagnostics or online pharmacies who threaten to disrupt the sector. So you got this whole basket around cloud computing, disruption, virtual experience that drives CEO agenda. You've also got cybersecurity. There's a lot of sensitive data being used in R&D and elsewhere. So Indian companies were targets of 2 cyber attacks last year. In fact, many more, but 2 were reported. In the media, so cyber is big. Deals has been very big. A lot of private equity money has gone to the sector. So thinking about how to raise money, how to do deals, how to consolidate is also very big on the CEO minds. There's been a lot of societal expectations from pharma and healthcare, given that much is expected in terms of bringing drugs on time, availability of drugs, affordability of drugs, and we saw that in the recent second wave. So some of these things are at the uppermost of pharma CEOs' mind just now as they think about their business now and looking further into FY22. Arnab, in your conversations with CEOs, given that we just spoke about how important digital is to the industry, what are you hearing from pharma CEOs in terms of tech adoption in the sector?
I think when we're talking about tech adoption in the sector, I think primarily we are looking at accelerated digital transformation for the industry. Cloud computing is very critical, cybersecurity, especially when people are working remotely. Decentralized clinical trials, again, something where technology can become a game changer. In the R&D side, how can artificial intelligence improve R&D productivity? When you're coming to online marketing and communication tools, and most importantly, telemedicine and digital therapeutics. So these would be a few of the main tech adoption-led initiatives within the sector. So Sujay, what are some of the key risks for the industry? We keep hearing about several of them, but I've always been a bit confused.
There are a few risks to the industry. First and foremost would be supply chain constraints. We do know that from APIs for active pharmaceutical ingredients and raw materials, we depend on a few countries. So that continues to be a source of problem and a watch out for the industry. You've got on the production side, both in health and in pharma, you've got our people who are frontline workers, who are engaged in patients, Many of the lives that were lost, the highest portion came from the healthcare sector. So how do you keep your people safe while they work on the factory floor with social distancing or interacting with patients? How do you keep the systems going? This is a challenge for people associated with the industry, both government and for CEOs. The third is tech disruption. We spoke about that. You need to be ahead of the curve, given all of the manifold changes around digital transformation.
What kind of support does the industry need to achieve its true potential, and what kind of an ecosystem can facilitate that?
They say this is the golden age for pharma and healthcare industry because it is at the epicenter of the pandemic, and for future, given the consciousness of an average person in terms of his health and otherwise. Some of the areas that we could be helpful to our clients, one, certainly it's the whole digital transformation story around S4 HANA, transfer to cloud computing, helping respond to digital disruption that's going to take place in the center. I think there's a lot we could do to help our clients make sense of that situation. You've got cybersecurity that's connected with that. To respond to societal expectations, ESG will be very important to all stakeholders in the industry. We see a lot of investments going in manufacturing and supply chain, driven by new technologies, driven by investment in vaccines. There's going to be a lot of opportunities for firms like ours as clients help plan out their capacities to serve the world, not just India. So these would be some of the very key areas. Last but not the least, the sector has attracted considerable investment, so it will be in the eye of private equity, venture capital, given all of the manifold opportunities. So I think the opportunity to help our clients create value, preserve value, has never been greater.
Thank you, Sujay, for a very insightful discussion. It is extremely reassuring when you reiterate the strength of India's pharma and health sector, our R&D efforts and capabilities. I'm sure with a more robust ecosystem, once we clear the production bottlenecks, we look at the supply chain constraints and the technology adoption, not to say the government regulations, both global and local, our dream of becoming the pharma hub or the COE of the world will definitely be a reality. So thank you, viewers, for joining in. Hope you liked today's discussion. It is very topical and something which affects each of us. We'll be back soon with another relevant topic. Until then, take care and stay safe.